get up Insta here. It's going to be hard because I have some notes on a Word document and I can't put it over top of the graphics page. So it's going to have to go over the Insta. So I probably won't see a lot of comments there, but that's fine. It don't matter. We'll roll with this the way it is. Ben already saying what's up. So he's already jumped in here. And give me 1 second here. And we will officially start it up. Here we go. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Sun Belt Syndicate. Just going to be Seth and I tonight. Marv dropped out on us. Working too hard, right, Seth?
Yeah, that's all Marv does is work.
Well, where are you at? Tell the people where you're at tonight.
I am in Boynton Beach, Florida. A little bit warmer than the hills of Boone right now. We're doing a little work down here, so a little bit nice to get away from the cold for a little while.
Yeah, can't blame you there, man. That's you moving somebody up or down?
Somebody back to Wilkesboro. So
okay.
Yeah. How are you, buddy?
Not too bad. Busy weekend, man. It's like I think all three of us were busy enough that we got to take in very little baseball. So we were talking a lot about stuff we'd seen on Twitter and keeping up with game notes and whatnot. So we will share as much as we can tell you about tonight, which will at least cover every team and every game. Maybe not as specific as we've done other times, and in some cases maybe decently specific. So we'll have to see how that works out. But yeah, I think
we got three ranked teams now, right?
Yeah, we do. That is the big news. 3 teams in the rankings. The newest one is in front of us, front and center on the screen, as Coastal Carolina comes in at number 24 in the D1 baseball rankings. Again, there's a number of different outlets that rank. I think like soccer also has a number of different outlets. I mean, even football does, but I think once the CFP comes out, everybody just goes by that. With other sports, it seems like, I don't know, Seth, how much do you pay? Like, I want to go by one poll, right? Like, I don't want 6 polls I got to keep track of here.
Right. No, I agree. I think towards, when we get towards the end of the year in May, if you're good enough, you're going to be in every poll for sure.
Right. I did see one today, and I don't even remember which one it was. It's not one I was very familiar with. They had the top 25 rankings, and Troy was the only Sun Belt team in there. I was like,
right.
Everybody's got at least Troy and Southern Miss. A lot of people are now putting Coastal in or like the first or second team out, depending on votes. So it's insanely close. But the fact that this poll had 2 Sun Belt teams that are either in or almost in every other poll, and they only had one, was like, all right, well, I know I'm not referencing that poll for any future needs that we would grab from. But, I guess they still got coverage in this show. So congrats to them. Ben's giving us some update for A-State. Next 2 games have been postponed for the Red Wolves. So
why is that, Ben?
Yeah, maybe some weather in the area. I know App State and Wake Forest has been moved up an hour from 4 p.m. start to 3 p.m. start. I think there was at least one other game that may have been moved up slightly. I'm not quite sure. I know Coastal's probably okay with getting out of the area, unfortunately, with those fires down there. Seth, do you know anybody in the area down there in that coastal region, Conway, Myrtle Beach? No?
I saw something on Twitter about it. I haven't. That was the first I'd heard of anything about it. So
yeah, it seemed to kind of come out of nowhere, which I don't know. I guess that's kind of what fires typically do. I saw all kinds of speculation on one way or another it may have started. But either way, it's bad news. I know I had a friend down there who's close enough. He saw the smoke from his house, said he could go outside and smell it. So unfortunately, some people are in some bad spots there. So I think Coastal will be good to get out of that area for a little bit and come up here and take on UNC, who is currently ranked number 4 and one of the only undefeated teams left in NCAA baseball. So a big time
showdown game, correct?
Yeah. So I for people don't remember or don't know, I am right here in Chapel Hill. I'm 5 minutes from the baseball field probably. So I plan on going to that one. It's a 4 p.m. start. And plan on taking my son. I'm not gonna be a member of the media tomorrow night. Just gonna go kind of enjoy that one. That's what I did last year when I was there too. And
that'd be
they
a
got
good
a nice
baseball game, man. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. This will be my first one. Really unfortunate that we couldn't get out to the Campbell versus Georgia Southern game this past weekend, the series, really. I know that Marv and I, being kind of local to here, Seth's obviously like 3 hours from us, but Marv and I were, I mean, for me, it was an hour and a half trip to get to Campbell. For Marv, it might have been closer to an hour. I think he's a little bit closer, but somewhere between an hour and an hour and a half. Unfortunately, he had family in town and kids' games to take care of. I had a kid that was in 3 different hockey events over the weekend. One of them was the other side of the state in Greensboro. And so it was just impossible timing, unfortunately. Friday was like the only somewhat realistic game I could have gotten to, and that would have had me leave work at like 2:30 or 3 o'clock, and it just wasn't gonna be possible. So have you
understand that?
There haven't really been any games in Boone, right? There was supposed to be one this weekend, and then they moved it to Hickory, right?
There was Friday and Saturday was in Boone. Saturday, no, we were busy all weekend as well. Jace's birthday, so all kinds of stuff going on. I will not be at the Wake Forest game tomorrow either, but I'm hoping to start getting in the groove of it during the Southern Miss series.
Yeah, well, Boone and App always has a rough start. Probably Marshall, JMU, and even to some extent OD. Well, ODU's, I don't know what ODU's doing. With their stadium renovation, but some of those things are obviously weather dependent for the more northern teams in this conference. And Robert's letting us know the Fire's on the other side of 501. Coastal campus is okay. Yeah, I knew that the campus was not necessarily affected, but there were some people that don't live real close to campus that may have been a little bit closer to the Fire. Our co-host Zach for the basketball show, I checked in with him. He said that he was aware of it, obviously, but he didn't seem to know of any effects that were affecting his community right there at the moment, which is good. But obviously, like, again, there's quite a few people that are still being affected in that area. So hopefully they can kind of get that under control and taken care of, because that's not a good situation. Had hurricanes in this conference. We've had fires now in this conference. It's just, can we have a regular year at some point, Seth?
Right. I know. It's always one thing or another, right, my man?
Yeah. But speaking of not making the Georgia Southern series, unfortunately, do want to give a shout out to Coach Wofford and the staff, whoever was a part of it, the guys that were on the show, of course, as well. We got a box today, or I got a box at the house. I now have to divide it up to Seth and Marv, but blown away by the generosity. We always joke around like we hate free stuff, blah, blah, blah. They hooked us up with some of the nicest polos I've seen. Really nice Georgia Southern insignia logo on there, striped. I was going to wear it tonight, but unfortunately this basement is way too cold for a short sleeve shirt. So I'm down here in the zip up. So I will show that off, even as an App State fan. When someone shows you the courtesy and respect as they did, we will definitely be returning. I'll be sporting it tomorrow at work. I can tell you that. I'll be wearing it there.
Shout out ULM as well.
Yeah, ULM hooked us up. Georgia Southern's now hooked us up. Those guys that have been on the show, players and coaches that took their time to give to us. We tried to get a Coastal player on tonight for you guys, since we do have the big matchup tomorrow to talk about. Unfortunately, those requests went unanswered. But we will see if we can kind of get somebody on. Maybe I can get close enough to have at least a word with somebody tomorrow and see about a future appearance, especially since now they're their newest ranked team in this conference. But Georgia Southern's got some hopes coming up. I mean, that series in Campbell is no easy feat. We know what Campbell's been doing along the way. So very good outcome there with some close and exciting games. I was really pissed I missed that Friday one, man. That was what was that? 10 or 11 innings. I think I have it up right here, actually. 10. It was 10 where they walked it off. I guess they don't walk it off, right? Because Campbell gets the last opportunity being the home team. But they won that one 6-5 in 10 innings. So fantastic job taking that series. We'll get to those here in a second. But first, we got to crap on ourselves here. Or at least me. I mean, 1-8 on the year, Seth. at least you and Marv are respectable, and Seth, you're sitting there looking pretty in first place right now.
Absolutely. You can always count on Troy to come through with a sweep. And then let's see. How did Coastal do that? Did Coastal sweep?
Yes, they swept Rutgers.
They swept. Okay. All right. Hey, let's start picking the Marshall series every weekend.
Yeah, you would be looking good, man.
Let's go.
I was telling Seth, your little viral clip from the other week that I put out there about them having a turning point looks like a genius take at this point, because they've really been on fire since that clip came out. And I know the fans of the Thunder and Her were very happy to see that really attach. I saw people like retweeting it and everything. So great take by you there, Seth.
Hey,
and
I just anything to go against you and Marv, and it just started a wildfire. So they're on a streak now.
Oh yeah, they definitely are. But yeah, I mean, you're on a streak now too. I think this is the first time anybody all season has won more than one series. So congratulations on that too. You correctly predicted, unfortunately, ULM losing the series 2-1 to Missouri State. You correctly got Troy sweeping. So did Marv. That was the only one he got right. And then I went 0 for 3. So my record is now 1-8. Well, we try again someday, right? I did think, I really thought closely of taking Coastal in a sweep and Troy in a sweep. I felt comfortable in my ULM pick. I really thought they could come out 2-1 over Missouri State, having looked at what Missouri State had done so far in the year, what ULM has been capable of a couple times. Knew it wouldn't be easy. Didn't see a sweep either way. Didn't work out in my favor. But the other two probably should have maybe, I don't know if I started out with thinking sweep or not. The hard part about the Penn matchup that you guys maybe just thought Troy was that good, which all credit to that too. The hard part for me in that Penn matchup was they'd only played 3 games all season. Like every team in our conference had played double the amount of games that Penn had played. I don't think anything was canceled either. I guess just because of where they're at, they slow start to the season. They had 1 series and they didn't sweep it. I think they were 2-1 out of that. So it was hard for me to tell kind of where Penn was. So I took a stab at saying they'll jump up and surprise Troy 1 game or something. Plus, what did we say? 2 years ago, they were in the NCAA tournament. So not a bad team, I guess you could say. I still don't know, even after this series, if you know where Penn's at as a team for the season. It's only playing 6 games. But yeah, so Seth in first at 4-5, Marv in second, 3-6. I'm not even close. So I'm down there at the very, very bottom of the barrel at 1-8. So that fire that we have surrounding this graphic right now, you guys are on fire. I am burning. I am ash.
Up in flames.
Yeah, there you go. My picks are up in flames. They might as well be. But it's still fun to do this. I already got all the games picked out for this weekend. We will have 3 picks of teams we have not yet picked series from. I kind of want to at least cover everybody, and then we can go back into kind of the doubles and triples, because they'll obviously happen. Throughout the year. And then obviously as conference play goes, you're obviously going to get a lot of similar teams, because you're not going to see as much over the weekends. But so far it's been fun because we've had a lot of ways to mix this up in the early part of the year. All right, Seth, the often debated best in class rankings. And as always, I create the graphics for this show. So these are my personal takes, and Seth will argue or agree with each of these things.
Right.
Single A, double A, triple A, and the show. Obviously, the show being kind of the class leader, right? That's the level you want to attain to, and single A being the smallest ball in minor league baseball. I guess you want to say single A is lowest of the minor league settings.
Yeah, I'm just scanning here what you got. I'm telling you, man. Like I texted you yesterday, Marshall's moving into AAA. How? Okay, Marv's not here to argue, so it's not as fun. But you got a team that took 2 of 4 from Georgia Tech, and then they had a midweek, and then they won the midweek, and then swept the weekend. You gotta be thinking AAA there, my man.
Yeah, I think my thinking there is Fairleigh Dickinson is the team that they swept. I would hope that they sweep them. I mean, I'd have to look up the history of that program, but I would lean on the side of probably not a historically great baseball program. So it's more of it's. I don't want to say I'm hurting Marshall. I mean, in an essence, you are, right? Because you're saying, well, it doesn't mean as much, but I'd still want to divide the teams up. And at this point, I kind of go with the resume as it's shown to me, which of course doesn't include a true ranking RPI, but kind of something similar in your head, right? That
I get
teams
that
in certain spots.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I like it. I'm not going to disagree. I like it. I can't complain. I mean, we could always go back and forth on one or two, but I think it's a good job so far.
Yeah, I mean, looked like, if I remember correctly, JMU moves from AA to single A this week. I don't think any team moved from the single A to the AA. No, nobody moved from single A to double. I don't know if I had anybody close, right? I mean, ODU drops. ODU wasn't in a series. We'll cover that in a few minutes, but they did not come out as victorious on a weekend set, I guess you could call it, if it's not a series, because it's 3 different teams they played against. As far as JMU goes, they win that first one. We'll talk about that more in a little bit, but then they drop the rest to Fairfield again.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just ignorant and I don't know exactly how good of a program Fairfield has, but it's not a team I know any real prior knowledge of. So
yeah, I get that. I understand. I think App could be borderline single or double, depending on who they have that weekend. We'll see how they do against Wake tomorrow night, see if they stay competitive, but I'm not convinced that that's even a AA team right now.
Yeah,
other than
that's the hard one. Yeah. I agree with you. They seem to have the bats, right? They're putting up quite a few runs in most of their games. Of course, they've had a few ones that are a little lacking in that regard, but the pitching, even with a couple good pitchers, I feel like they just like throughout the roster, it's just letting up too much, right? I mean, at this point, I don't know what more you can say. It's hard to say without watching every second of every game exactly what you're seeing out of it. But I mean, I guess the only other thing to say is a couple of these stadiums in this conference, or a lot of them, have been told to us as hitters' ballparks, and it sounds like the Hickory Stadium is that same type of atmosphere. So not conducive for great pitching to have a lot of success in the early part of the season. Maybe down there in Hickory. Maybe that's kind of what we're seeing. Oh, Seth, your favorite question from Ben. When's the basketball show live this week?
You're going to be live from the tournament, are you not?
Yeah, right. I wish I had the time and availability to do something like that. I am actually on a personal vacation starting Wednesday afternoon, so there will not be a live basketball show this week. We'll have to do a live show Sunday night or sometime Monday before the championship game. It's going to be really tough. I am going to be, well, I'll just tell you, I'm going to be in Disney, so I can't. I won't have the ability to set stuff up and do a show. I will be doing stuff on social media, as always, to try and track things and follow along and interact with all you guys that usually interact with us on Twitter and Facebook and everything. So we'll I'll still be watching and paying attention, but to do an out and out show live from Disney World, which would be cool, but it's not really close to Pensacola. So it's kind of a weird thing there, but we'll see. Robert's chiming in saying Coastal hit 2 home runs in the bottom of the 9th in game 2. Yeah, we're actually going to get to that in just a minute after this, about some of our, I guess, awards, right? We want to call them that, Seth?
Right.
Awards for the week. So we'll get to those here in just a second. Ben is saying, I know A-State is bad, but I just hope they go on a run eventually. And I know that's highly unlikely. Well, I mean, that's one of the things we have to talk about too, right, Seth? I mean, this is a team now that has a brand new head coach, a lot of new players. It's going to take a little bit of time for the system to work as they want, for that head coach to get the players that he wants. And it's probably a little bit less important in baseball than basketball, which is a really fluid game. Maybe similar to football in the respect that, like, the chemistry is only such an aspect of baseball. I don't know. Seth, you played more baseball than I ever did. Like,
I think baseball's
yeah, go ahead.
Baseball's a lot like golf. It's, any team can win any night, depending on, who's on, who's not, but it's all about consistency. Finding the consistency with the chemistry of the team, finding out what wins ball games. It does take a little time. Once you find out that formula, then you can start putting it together to try to string some wins together. But it will take just a little bit of time. I wouldn't lose hope just yet.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason. Like you said, you've said it before. This team started off, what was it, 12-0 last year? Or was it 8-0 or something like that? It was crazy.
Yeah, it started off really hot. Yeah, and then I think they hit conference, and it went down pretty fast after that. But they know how to win. It's just getting the right pieces in there, and it's something that could take a couple years to figure out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what bothers me, and I'm not going to name any schools in general, but coaches that have been there for 5, 6, 7 years, and consistently you don't have pitching. Like, how does that? Are you not recruiting pitching? Are you not developing pitching? How? Again, not going to name schools, but consistently giving up, having to score 15 runs just to win a game. You got to look at some stuff there. If you're not developing your players, or you're not picking people up out of the portal, pitching wins ball games. And some schools that we're just seeing struggle consistently over the last, 4 or 5 years because there is no pitching. Are you not doing what it takes to get these kids on campus? Are you not, is it, I'm not trying to, again, not name any names, but if you're a top prospect, are you going to go to the Sun Belt? And then B, if you're going to the Sun Belt, would you rather go to a cold, windy school where you're not playing any games at home for the first month, or go to a school like Coastal where it's 85 and you're playing all your home games the first month of the season, or you're playing all your games at home to start with? So it's all about finding the some schools are just behind the 8 ball to begin with. This isn't basketball where you're playing in an arena and everybody, it's a fair playing field across the board. These are schools where you're practicing outside, and it's mainly a winter, early spring sport for some of these schools, and you're having to practice in the snow. And some kids just don't want to do that. And why would you want to?
Yeah. I mean, you do have to ask. I mean, a lot of these guys from the deeper South don't have to worry about the winter aspect of baseball that much. I mean, cold is 50, right? Or high 40s, which is pretty attainable to deal with when you can throw on a long sleeve and you've got the long baseball pants on already. So that ain't too bad, right? But yeah, when you're talking about 17 degrees, snow on the ground, that's a little bit different of a story. So but just to wrap this up real quick, AAA, we've got Texas State. They were teetering, okay? They were teetering after the weekend they had, but they did come up with a victory in their last game there. Georgia Southern, I didn't really have them that close to the show, but they definitely are a solid AAA team in my mind, especially after what they did this weekend. Louisiana, because of how good UC Irvine is, I didn't punish them tremendously for that swept series that they just had because they did not sweep. They got swept. So not great there. I mean, not terrible showings, really, though, is I guess why they're still there. Georgia State, once again, winning easily. But again, kind of similar to the Marshall situation, you have to ask yourself how great of a program Alabama State. No, it was Alabama A&M. How great Alabama A&M is as a program. So can't duly reward you for crushing that team 3 times in a row. And then, of course, our 3 ranked teams are obvious, right? Troy, Southern Miss, and Coastal all up there in the go category as of right now. Before we move on to the next thing, Ben James says, I saw the other night Oregon scored 35-1 win in baseball. Can't remember who they faced. I don't remember either, but I do remember seeing that score line come through, and it was kind of crazy. G. Will says, "Why am I here?" Well, ODU fans, it'll get better. We're just waiting on that new stadium. It's going to bring a whole lot more energy and excitement to your baseball program. And I know the Monarchists are headed down to Pensacola right now to cover some basketball down there. So the ODU team is one that could certainly make a run with Sean Duragordon on their roster as one of the best rebounders. And I think he's like up there towards the national lead for double doubles in the season or something. So I think somehow, though, he's named like second or third team all conference basketball player. So not sure how that makes sense. Wow. I think you're punished there because of how your team finished, but he's easily in the top 4 or 5 players for me in the Sun Belt from this past season as far as basketball is concerned. But we'll see. Maybe they can fill the void of an in-person break. Yeah. For those who don't understand what G. Wills just said, I think there was a guy from Troy who said it. I think he's a part of the Troy collective. Seth, I don't know how much you're following other teams' Twitters more closely, but this guy put it out. He said it's almost time for the Sun Belt Conference basketball tournament where they slide around like an ice rink on that court down there. And the broadcasters are talking from a closet in the Superdome.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah, they're still remote. I don't know why they don't. Yeah, I don't understand that.
Oh, they're remote? Really?
Yeah. They've been remote. I believe it started the COVID year, and they just never send them back. They're in a studio calling the game. And there was one point,
terrible.
It was either last year or 2 years ago, where they were completely lost on the broadcast. And you can't blame them, right? They're not there to hear or see more what's going on. There was a last-second shot that did or didn't count. At this point, I can't remember exactly what happened. But they didn't realize it. They started talking like the game. I think it was a last-second shot that didn't count, and they started talking about how the other team won and all this stuff. And the referees were clearly on the broadcast, as we could see as fans, but clearly calling off the shot. And I don't know. I guess they weren't either focused on that cam for them, or they weren't looking in the right spot. And so they're talking about how this team walked it off or whatnot. And
That's terrible.
ODU
Absolutely
ODU non-buzzer beater. Yeah, it was against Texas State. Okay, I'm remembering a little bit now that G. Wills is reminding my mind. But yeah, it was a crazy game, and they kind of just messed it all up because they weren't there. And obviously they corrected it. I mean, it didn't go off the broadcast saying the wrong thing, but it took them a minute or two to figure out what the hell was going on. And again, who can blame them in that situation? But all right,
blows my mind.
Yeah, let's get to the awards. Only 2 of them. We just recognize a hitter and a pitcher. We could probably do a whole bunch of positions, but that takes a whole lot more time than we have to watch of the baseball. But Barrel Up Award, the hitter of the week, goes to Caden Bodine. 13 at-bats, 6 runs, 6 hits, 1 home run, 6 RBIs on the weekend versus Rutgers. And the tipping point to why he was awarded this week was his game-winning walk-off home run in Game 2 against Rutgers. So one of the best catchers, if not the best catcher in the nation, is playing for Coastal Carolina, and hopefully I'll see him behind the plate tomorrow night. And if
anybody knows how to get a hold of this guy, let us know.
Yeah,
we want to have him on the show. If anybody's got any connections out there, let us know.
I'll start throwing Sunbelt Syndicate stickers at him through the fence, through the net tomorrow night. And not pandering at all. Not pandering at all. But there was a Twitter thing where he was shown from the Jacksonville tournament where they went down there and they played NC State and Alabama and was Ohio State, I think, right?
Yeah, he's a stud, man.
Yeah, his clips, man, his body control is what's so impressive. There's people in life who have talent that make things look effortless, and that's what he does at catching. He makes it look effortless. Yeah. Everything's easy. I know it's not. He'll obviously tell you how much he has to work to have it at that level, but if you watch this guy catch the ball, it's going to blow your mind. You're like, okay, this kid just has it. It doesn't seem to be difficult for him. So absolutely phenomenal stuff. And again, obviously getting it done in front of the plate or beside the plate, as it may be, as well with the bat. So absolutely phenomenal stuff from Caden Bodine. Easy to see why he's a top Major League Baseball projection, I guess I should say. All right, as far as ace of the week, again, this is also, us looking around trying to figure out this. Obviously, you could go with a number of different options, but Garrett Gaines from Troy Trojans, Game 1 versus Penn, 6 innings pitched, only 1 run given up, only 5 hits given up, and he strikes out 8, getting the ball rolling for an ultimately important matchup this past weekend. Keep Troy rolling along with that great start in Game 1, and they rolled that into, as Seth was talking about earlier, a season or a series sweep against Penn there. So great stuff. I love the pinstripes. That is one of my favorite traditions in baseball. Seth, are you a pinstripe guy?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Love it. Looks awesome.
Have the Braves ever had a pinstripe look?
No, never have.
No? Interesting.
Never have.
I feel like with their color scheme,
yeah,
their color scheme could probably pull something really, really nice off with that look. So we'll have to see if they ever entertain that thought. I mean, I heard the Yankees have now gone away from the facial hair requirement, right? Is that what I've heard?
Yeah. They're finally coming around to today's times, but yeah, it's each.
Uh-oh, losing Seth here. Well, while we see if he gets figured out, he is obviously on the road down there in Florida. We may have some Wi-Fi issues with the hotel. We got you back, Seth?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
All right. Yep, we got you back now. All right, well, I was just telling them that you may have some connection issues because you're away from home, but we'll keep rolling along and go into the season or series wrap-ups from this past weekend. App State faced Gardner-Webb, the Bulldogs, the running Bulldogs, I guess is technically their official name. But I put the tagline on this one is some bark, some bite, because, Gardner-Webb was a dangerous team. The App State didn't roll over easily, taking this series 2-1. They won that first one 12-7, lost the second one, and you were the first one to send me this score update, 16-14. A football game where they went for 2. Well, they missed an extra point and then kicked a field goal, I guess, maybe, or something. Anyways, they end up winning that.
No pitching. Yeah.
They win that last one though, 9-7. So they do come out victorious.
2 or 3. 2.
Yeah.
2 or 3. I think Gardner-Webb had a guy that hit 4 home runs on Saturday. Absolutely crushing the ball. One being a grand slam. App's one of those teams, still haven't really had a big win yet. Like I said, they play Wait tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. Kind of borderline 1A, single A, double A right now, but a win tomorrow would go a long way. They're not dead in the water, but they're also, I wouldn't even say middle of the pack. They've not shown us much so far.
Yeah, we'll have to see, like you said, that big test against Wake Forest. Artie Cat jumping in saying, "Hey y'all, what's up, Artie?" This was a last minute show. We had Marv not make it. Seth was getting situated and other stuff, and so we couldn't throw this out extra early today. We were also really hoping to have one of the players respond to a request, and unfortunately it didn't work out. So we were withholding the graphic and launching the show until we confirmed, unfortunately, that we would not have a special guest tonight. We were trying to keep that rolling. Man, we had a really good streak going there, Seth.
Yeah. I think we've just been busy. We haven't had a time to reach out just yet, but we'll get this rolling a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, at the earliest we would reach out is late Sunday night after games wrap up, and I try not to, interfere too much on that aspect.
Right.
Also trying to figure out who we want to reach out to, right? Who had a big week or who has a big game coming up. Coastal was on my mind. I didn't reach out till late last night at the earliest. I tried to reach out to some people to indirectly get to some of these guys too. Ultimately, again, didn't work out. No big deal. We move on. We prevail. We go through the show anyway. That was App State. Now we're jumping over to South Alabama, who took on Jacksonville, winning this series 2-1. And the tagline here is Jags Jolt Jacksonville. Gotta love the Jays there, right?
Yeah, good for Good for them. A series win, 2-1. Like I said, we don't know a whole lot about. We don't have a lot in front of us this weekend, but if we're breaking it down, single A, double A, triple A show, I think we're looking at Jags somewhere right between right around double A. I think so far.
Yep. I think that's where they're at right now. But one series that's impressive could really move them up. I think that's kind of where they're on that cusp right now. And a great response, right? That first game they lose 11-3. So you're like, ooh, is this going to be a rough weekend? That's not a great start. Well, they rebound really well, winning the second game in 7 innings, 15-1. So you can't rebound much better than that, right? You go ahead and call the game early because you're ahead by so many runs. Right. Phenomenal stuff there from South Alabama. Then they win that last game in pretty convincing fashion there too. I'd say they won that last one 10-5. So they take down the School of Dolphins down there in Jacksonville. But Artie's asking, Ben, was the game where the Oregon player hit 2 grand slams in one game? If you're allowing some guy to hit 2 grand slams on you, you need to be questioning what you're doing.
Why was that game not called, more or less?
The whole thing about
a certain amount of innings.
Yeah, the whole thing about some games having the run rule and some games not doesn't make a lot of sense to me, right? Like, there's no reason to continue a game that was 30-something-1. I mean, just absolutely ridiculous. But whatever. I guess it's a money game. You got to play it. The other team wants to get their guys that don't play as much on the field or something, I guess. Whatever. All right. ODU's turn. Monarchs struggle, but do win Sunday. Again, they were the only team in the conference who did not have one series against one team all weekend, I guess is what I'm trying to say there. They did lose that first game 4-7 to St. Bonaventures, which I got to be honest, didn't even know they had a baseball team. I guess, I don't know. Did you know, Seth? Have you?
No, I had no idea. The Bonnies had a baseball team.
Did not either. UT Martin, which I did know had a team, but probably only because a team or two in the conference has also played them earlier this season. They lost that one 6-0, so not really a great recovery. At least they were competitive in that first matchup. That second one, not so much. But they did get the better of Middle Tennessee, winning 5-3 on Sunday to cap the weekend and at least salvage one victory to not make it out of there too ugly. But again, it's just struggling to I mean, they series against Georgia Tech to start the year, and even though they didn't come out victorious, they were really competitive in a lot of those games, looking like they could win them and then dropping them.
Then they had the extra innings against Charlotte where they lost one in the lights.
Yeah. So that's rough. I mean, it's just a rough start for the Monarchs so far, but I think they've got some talent. They're kind of even more so, I think, than A-State, probably able to turn it around with a little bit better bat luck, a little bit better pitching, but their schedule's not going to get any easier, right? I mean, once you get into conference play, it's just as tough as playing some of the better teams in the country, unfortunately, for them. So we'll see what happens there for the Monarchs. Here's your new favorite team, right, Seth? The Herd.
Hey, I told you, man. Sweep. I told you the sweep around the Herd around the nation. Marshall turning up.
Before you break it down, if we didn't know who they played and you just saw that logo for their opponent there, would you have any idea who that was?
No, not a clue.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't have any idea either. As soon as I read the name, I'm like, oh yeah, but I had zero clue in the world. That's what Fairleigh Dickinson's logo looked like. Obviously, it makes sense once you see it. Like I said, FDU, and then there's a sword through the D for those that aren't able to see right now. Not a great looking logo, if you're not being totally honest.
All right.
Well, sorry, I kind of cut you off. But go ahead.
I think everybody started, counting them out early, which it's still early to begin with, but lost. I think I know Marshall's schedule better than some other people. Lost 4 early to Hawaii. And I believe 2 other people in this show counted them out and said they would never win again. They should disband their baseball program and never even recruit baseball. And the whole town of Huntington should just shut down because their baseball team is so bad. And
so someone's going to take you serious on that stuff.
I wasn't buying it, Dom. I said these guys are going to string it together. They're going to – I told you guys they were going to take 2 of 4 from Georgia Tech, and then they were going to sweep FDU, and here they are. You know, I'm a whisperer. It's they're going to go on a run, and they're going to be working their way into AAA before too long.
Well, that part is certainly probably accurate, especially if they keep this run up. Good,
I'm just glad they didn't disband their program like you and Marv wanted them to.
So. Oh hell!
Just
man,
facts, bro.
Yeah. Oh, facts. Yeah, of course, facts. Fabrications maybe, but not facts.
Yeah.
But yeah, they won that first game 5-4.
We like to see people. Sorry to interrupt you, but you know, just because you took a couple L's to begin the season, you know, it's a long season. Keep your head up and go Herd. Hey, anybody out there that has a extra large T-shirt that still has got the tags on it, Marshall Thunder Herd, I'll send it my way. I'll wear it proudly. But
there you go.
I'm a big fan of the Herd right now. Good for them.
Yeah, I do like the color scheme. Green was one of my favorite colors as a kid. I mean, I guess it's still one of my favorite colors. So a big fan of the Thundering Herd black, white, and green. I like the look of all their stuff that they put out. They won that first game 5-4, second game 12-3. Last one was a little bit closer, but they still won that one 5-4 again. So like I said, Herd earned the sweep. It wasn't one that they just kind of waltzed into. So good stuff from the Herd there in that one. All right, ranked matchup.
Big time.
Yeah, Eagles battle to victory. So this first game there for Southern Miss, number 22 coming in, obviously a little bit higher now as the rankings came out today, but this is from the weekend, so these rankings are inaccurate at this point. But going into the weekend, it was number 22 versus number 25, Southern Miss versus TCU. They dropped that first game 5-2 to the Horned Frogs, and I don't know if Southern Miss fans, though, like they're way up here or they're way down here on their confidence level after a win or a loss. And they were pretty down bad, it seemed, after that first game. But, you know, it's so funny how quickly some of the teams rebound. They were talking their garbage right before the other ones started up for good reason, too, because they came out victorious in that second game 5-3 before ultimately winning the game and the series on Sunday 11-3. So, to close it out, they were the most dominant they were all weekend. So easy to see why they solidified their spot in the top 25 and continue to move up the rankings, actually. So,
yeah, it's a solid ball team, man. That's the cream of the crop right there as far as Sunbelt goes.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
Baseball, college baseball in general. I think these three teams that you're looking at right now, maybe even Texas State towards the end of May, it might be in contention, talking about hosting a regional.
Yeah, definitely the top three right now are easy to see.
Yeah,
like you said, does Louisiana turn it around after this weekend's performance, and Texas State? Well, we'll get into those two here in a minute. The Chance clean sweep, kind of covered this a little bit, so I don't want to go too crazy on this one. But 3-0 against Rutgers. They go 10-0, 7 innings that first game. No doubt, no question, nice and easy. Game 2, close one. That's the one where Bodine hits the walk-off home run to win it 6-5. And then Game 3, another kind of resounding victory, 6-1 in that one to close it out. They travel right up here down the road from me in Chapel Hill tomorrow night. So we'll go see those guys and what they have to offer there and see if they can get it done. I mean, that would be one hell of a massive victory for the Chanticleers to come out on top against what did I have on that graphic? Is it number 4 UNC undefeated?
Number 4 have they played a game away from Coastal yet?
Well, they played down in Jacksonville, yeah.
That's right. Okay,
but
you're right.
Not a tried and true road game yet, I don't believe.
Okay.
So this could be interesting. But not unfamiliar with this ballpark. I mean, they played here, I think, every year the past 2 or 3 seasons at the very least. Right. So, yeah, it's not a park that a lot of them are, going to be intimidated by any means or anything. And UNC's park's not huge, but it's nice. It's a very nice ballpark. So We'll see. We'll see what they can get done, but I'm excited to go see that one in person. Coastal usually travels pretty well, or at least they have a bunch of people in the Triangle, because every time I've been, they've got a pretty large contingent of the deal over there. So, yeah, we'll see what they can do. All right. Red Wolves struggle continues. Swept 0-3 versus Jacksonville State. Scorelines looked like this. Game 1, 10-0 loss. Game 2, close one, 8-7 loss. And game 3, another one-run game, 6-7 in the loss column. I don't know, Seth, do we really need to say much more? It's just
it's a struggle bus right there, man. Hopefully, like Ben said, hopefully they get it turned around. They get it figured out here pretty soon.
Yeah, and I don't think Jacksonville State's a bad baseball team or anything. I'm not sure if I know quite how good they are, so I can't say it's
right.
Probably never okay to say at this conference that it's an okay loss or anything like that. But is it understandable with where the current situation with Arkansas State is? Probably. Honestly, it probably is. So we'll see what comes out of that. Cali, not for Cajuns.
This one was a little bit, man.
Yeah, it was a tough pill to swallow. I know that they went out there hoping for the best, and also there's so many like University of California pretty sure that the Cajuns website had the wrong team listed for the whole weekend. They had UC Irvine ranked, but they had them listed as UC Santa Barbara, not the same team. UC Santa Barbara not in the rankings. I believe if UC Irvine is not now ranked, they're damn close. And I know
Santa Barbara. I think Campbell went to Santa Barbara a couple weeks ago, and Santa Barbara's ranked. Name that mascot for UC Irvine.
Anteaters.
Attaboy.
Yeah, I pay attention, man. Also, my brother was born in Irvine, California, so I got to know some stuff. Random thing. Yeah.
Right.
Dad was stationed there in the military, so we spent a couple years in Irvine, California, or roughly that area, I guess I should say, because we were on a military base, so not technically in Irvine. I guess the Air Force Base had its own zip code, I'm sure, so we were technically in some other town or something like that. Right. Whatever. Anyways, the Cajuns go down 0-3. Lost that first game 7-4, second one 9-6, and that last one 12-5. So again, competitive in pretty much each and every game. It wasn't that they didn't show up and got, no hit and all kinds of other stuff. But UC Irvine's a good team. So
travel, that's tough. It
is a tough travel.
That's I think maybe we were a little hyped on Louisiana at the beginning of the year. And now we're seeing that this could easily be a double A team all year long. So I think we were brought down just a little bit from what we thought we were going to expect from them, and now maybe kind of this is what they are. Middle of the pack, kind of what JMU was last year, maybe this year too. So we'll see what happens.
But this is a team. I think this is a team that could get hot though. I think they have the capability and the talent on the team to get better and to surprise some people towards the end, or at least position themselves in a good enough spot to be in the conference tournament and make some noise, right? I mean, I think that's the kind of team you could be looking at because, hey, guess what? They did it just last year. But Artie Cat saying UC Santa Cruz Banana Slugs. That's the best University of California system mascot. And that is a hell of a mascot name. I do like banana slugs. I like the stuff that's fun and cool like that. And this anteater thing like that, I don't know. I guess it's a normal mascot for them as far as the drawing goes, but it's not like some cool looking graphic. It's pretty cartoonish looking and everything, but it does make you stick out. So, hey, I guess power to that, but not great for the Cajuns out there in California. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we got Cats Crush Dogs as Georgia State 3-0s Alabama State and the Bulldogs, or Alabama A&M University. It is A&M. I keep saying Alabama State. Alabama State is a different school. It does exist. Both are HBCUs, so I was at least right in that regard. Two different schools that Georgia State played. Georgia State played Alabama A&M. Let me say that one last time so that I am correct in that. This one was never in question, winning the first game 17-9, 16-2 in that second game, and 10-0 to knock them out 3 straight.
Using the bats, huh?
Yeah. There was no question. There was no problem with this one. I tuned into a few minutes of this one, and it was a tough watch, man. There was a camera facing the pitcher's mound, which seemed to be updated, nice camera, good look. But obviously they're only going to that, kind of in between pitches for the most part.
Right.
The cam behind the pitcher looked like it was shot from a potato. I mean, it was hazy. It was far away. It was tough. Tough look. Georgia State needs that new ballpark faster than anybody else, I think.
Hey, good for them. They're playing good baseball right now. That's a AAA baseball team all year long right there so far.
Yeah, well, I don't have them up there, right? Like we were talking about. I have them in double right now because of the opponent's strength of schedule, I guess you could say. One of those two things. But, yeah, I mean, if they keep the bottom line of it is it ain't easy to keep winning in 3 straight, right? And they keep doing it. So, you duly rewarded for such thing. And if they do it one more time, they might find themselves in that AAA spot. Dukes dropped this series, and this one was a little surprising to me. I don't know about you, Seth. Going in, I would have just predicted them to win. Maybe not sweep, but at least win this 2-1, and the opposite ends up being true, right?
Yeah, I think we were a little bit too high on JMU to start the year. I think they did sweep last weekend, I believe. I had nothing too overly impressed with JMU so far. No big-time wins yet. Started off pretty strong, or faced a pretty hot FSU team to start the year, and now they're just kind of skidding along. Tough weekend. See if they can get a midweek back and take next weekend's series. But, yeah, not too overly impressed with JMU so far.
Yeah, I think as you read more right before the seasons got started, you realize, this team did lose a lot. But I don't know. You look at what JMU's done athletically in every other sport. Basketball lost a lot. That's where their basketball team ended up.
They don't respond to our requests for anybody to come on the show either. So, best of luck to you.
Yeah, it's a rough go with the Dukes. We'll see if we can do anything with that aspect. But yeah, Fairfield is the team that they played. Better known for their hotels than their baseball, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Either way, they won that first game 13-6, and you're like, all right, good start as expected. They lose the second game 14-2, and then that was the precursor to Sunday's finale, which they lost 7-0. So yeah, not a good end to that series there. But we'll see if they can bounce back. All right. This one was a little bit of The Office for the fans of that in mind when I quoted this one. Bears beat Hawks. You knew what I was going with that, Seth, right?
I see what you're saying now. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, absolutely.
Beats Bears Battlestar Galactica, or whatever the quote was.
Yep.
So Bears beat Hawks. ULM, unfortunately, dropping their series to Missouri State.
I think Missouri State was the tournament team last year too, though, weren't they?
They might have been. I do think that they have a pretty good baseball program, so it's not a terrible outcome as far as I can't believe you lost to this team. It's not that kind of a serious loss, of course, but yeah, I mean, I still would say the Sun Belt's a better conference. ULM could be better battle tested and could have taken that. Like I said, this is the one I predicted to be a 2-1 outcome. You correctly predicted this one, so you obviously are the as the kids say on Twitter, a ball knower, right?
Pulling for them. I hope they get it turned around or keep going in the right direction. I like those guys a lot.
Yeah. In that first game, I mean, even though they won it, it was a 9-8 victory, 1 run. The second game was pretty ugly, 11-1, 7 innings, and that last one was competitive as well, though. Did lose, 11-9, but again, competitive in that last one. So we'll see if Zach Shaw and the boys can round back into form. All right. The Eagles fly by the Camels. Kind of a lame attempt at a cool thing there, but I didn't know how to properly relate an eagle to a camel. Like they don't even know each other exist, I feel like, right? So that was my best attempt there. 2-1 for Georgia Southern over there in Bowie's Creek. Quite the name for Camel's city that they are in. They won that first one 6-5 in 10 innings. in pretty fun fashion, right? I saw a lot of clips on that one on Twitter afterward of how they won that one. Seems to be a hitter's park, I'd say, down there in Bowie's Creek, because that second game they did drop, but it was 16-9. So a lot of points, a lot of runs in that one before rebounding. And again, this is another football-looking score here, 14-11 to win that Sunday finale and ultimately take the series 2-1. So that's pretty good.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't. Sorry. Campbell's a good baseball team. Historically, I believe.
Right.
Campbell lost their head coach to Ohio State last year, and that took 95% of the team with him. I know Campbell's been traveling. They were on the West Coast playing UC Santa Barbara, so that was a ranked team. I think they struggled a little bit there, but I think Georgia Southern's a sneaky little good baseball team that we don't talk enough about. Those guys have been good to us as well. You know, anytime we need somebody on the show, anytime they're good to help us out. So it's hard, not to pull for those guys. Camel, that's a big series. I remember when we talked about the preview show, they talked about how Campbell would be a good RPI boost, and taking that series goes a long way for Georgia Southern. So good for them.
Yeah. And one interesting aspect off the top of my head, I don't know if Georgia Southern and Texas State play, but one little measuring stick or metric that we'll soon have is Texas State also travels up here to Bowie's Creek. And I believe that's this weekend. Again, really? Look at this. Bowie's Creek. I'm an hour and a half from Bowie's Creek. I'll be down there in Disney, not able to go to the games. Like it just hasn't worked out well for me at all so far this baseball season. So that's why I got to take advantage of this close one tomorrow night to,
good deal, man.
Get up to see at least one Sunbelt team here before too long, because I've been trying and it hasn't been working out. But yeah, I mean, Campbell, weirdly enough, has a bunch of like foreigners that usually come over and play on their baseball team. So just a weird roster, right? I mean, a lot of these teams, I don't really know of any foreigners that play on their baseball team, and Campbell has like multiple and has for a number of years. So I don't know how they're recruiting guys from other places to come play baseball, but it's been working out pretty well for them, and that's maybe why they'll be able to kind of reload and keep that program where it's at, even with a new coach. Texas State struggles early, but exciting Saturday. So they lose the series to Grand Canyon 2-1. Unfortunately, they won the first game. Oh no, I'm on the wrong one. There we go. Lost the first game 4-0. That second game they went down 9-2, but they did win the series finale on Sunday, 6-5 in 10 innings. I bet Artie was happy with that outcome because those first two games, I mean, 9-2, not uncompetitive or anything, but just 7 runs. That's not easily overcome, I'd say, right?
A little bit of a letdown from, the big midweek and the weekend series they had last week. So still trying to figure out who Texas State really is. Grand Canyon's a good baseball team, though, man. Historically, the last few years, and they've made some regionals. That's a good baseball team, so nothing to hold their heads about. But, I mean, well, we didn't even talk about – we haven't talked about Texas A&M yet, right?
We struggle because of when we do the show to talk about midweeks, right? Because it's almost like over a week by the time we would
I forgot about Texas. That's huge. Yeah, good for them. That's awesome.
Yeah. Because we don't talk about it as much on the show, we focus on the weekend stuff. I did put a graphic out congratulating them on their big win over number 1 Texas A&M, who, if we're being honest, was over thought of, right? I mean, they've now lost a few games, but Texas State took them down first and made it look good. So they have the talent, they have the ability. They just got to put it all together all the time. And unfortunately, against Grand Canyon, didn't quite happen that way. But as Artie Cat said, you beat number 1. That's going to be a hell of a point total on your RPI for a number of weeks. And if you can roll these victories back into happening more often, you're going to position yourself just fine, especially in the RPI aspect. Now, when it comes to how you position yourself in the conference, you just got to win there. It doesn't even matter if you win ugly. But you have to keep winning. Yeah, in that regard there. All right, the last series of the week, I don't know. We had mullets versus Mormons. So I called this one books versus bats because I the assumption that Penn students are real smart, and Troy had the bats going. They win the first game 11-1. Second game they snuck by. Okay, it was not a blowout. It was 10-9, but they did score 10 runs in that one. They win that last game 6-1 to sweep Penn. Again, I think from number 21, I think would they move up to number 19 now? Not a huge jump. Couple spots.
I think that's what we're going to hold our hat on this year is Southern Miss and Troy for sure. I am interested to see how the Coastal game goes tomorrow night, but
yeah,
Troy's the world beater, man. Them and the Southern Miss. That's your top two power rankings, I think, right there. It's an expected sweep. Not much to say, man. That's a good ball team. I don't have the stats in front of me, but it's a hell of a ball team right there.
Yeah, no doubt about that one. Wanted to see if I had. Yeah, so at this point, we do our little extra bonus time off topic. One thing that I'll touch on is kind of some of the upcoming games for the midweek. Again, I'll be kind of out of town, not being able to probably watch a lot of this stuff, but I will be trying to take in tomorrow's game. And again, Wake Forest, App State, that's a big one. ULM has a shot at Arkansas tomorrow night. Ooh. Big time there. So we'll see what happens. Marshall, Ohio, not necessarily prominent baseball programs, but that's a big rivalry. So that one takes place, I believe, every year, and I think they go.
Tell you how that one's going to go, buddy.
Yeah, I know you have thoughts on that. Southern Miss gets a shot at Mississippi State once again. I think that's a team they already beat, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So we'll see there. Georgia State gets a shot at Georgia on Wednesday. James Madison a shot at Maryland. ULM goes back-to-back against Arkansas, actually. They go a two-game set, back-to-back nights.
Okay.
In
I'd love to see them grab one. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great. Troy gets a shot at Alabama. You know they're going to want that one bad. They don't want to lose that one as a ranked team. You don't want to lose that one in your home state. It's not at their spot. It's in Tuscaloosa, unfortunately. Right. Louisiana goes up against UNCW. That's a little bit of an interesting match. See what they can bounce back.
UNCW is a good baseball team.
Yeah, that one is going to be interesting because that one's at home, so they should kind of feel comfortable in that one. Georgia Southern goes up against Jacksonville. Obviously, we just saw Jacksonville this past weekend, so Georgia Southern gets a shot at them down there in Jacksonville. Jacksonville, for those that aren't familiar, is like, I don't know, an hour or less from Statesboro, I believe. It's right. Real close. So a nice, easy trip for a midweek game for them. And we got some interesting ones over the weekend. Old Dominion, Auburn. We got Coastal Carolina, East Carolina. That's a good one.
Is that a 3-game series?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, it is. And that one's all in Greenville. So another one that is a close game, a close by thing that I'll be missing again. What a weekend to get out of town, right? App State and CFC. College of Charleston has been pretty good.
It's a historically good baseball team. It'd be interesting to see how App does against that.
Yeah, very, very interesting. James Madison and Charlotte should be an interesting one. We saw how ODU did against Charlotte earlier. See what JMU can get done against those guys. South Alabama, La Tech, an older rivalry. So we'll see what happens in that one. Texas State, Campbell, we did mention that one earlier. Georgia State goes up against Western Carolina, so a little bit better of an opponent that they'll see. Let's see if there's other ones that stick out. UNCW goes up against Southern Miss. So that one's down there in Pete Taylor Park. And Dallas Baptist versus Louisiana over the weekend. Woo.
Some good baseball, man. We'll have a good show this week.
Yes. I'm glad I'm going to be missing a bunch of this by being out of town. That's great. But trust me, like I said, I followed the Twitterverse. I will be tuning in as much as I can after the little one goes to bed at night. And I'm trying to figure out what to watch. I'll be tuning into baseball. And already saying Penn has a fantastic football stadium in Philly, which is interesting, right? Because Temple's in there too, and they play over at the Eagle Stadium, which that's a great facility, but it's not your home one.
Big schools in Philadelphia, Villanova,
Nova's there too.
LaSalle, I think maybe he's in Philadelphia.
I think that maybe Artie knows this. The Penn Relays, which is like a track and field event where they always host time trials and important stuff, is also held there. I don't know if that's the football. If it is, it's got a big track around it. It still could be nice. I just don't know if it's the same facility or not, but
I think it's
a little interesting aspect.
I bet you it is. Yeah.
Probably is. It's nice. I mean, for a track facility, it's phenomenal, right? Because I think it has seats all the way around like a football stadium. Not the tallest stadium because of that. It's a little bit smaller there. But any other news and notes you want to share here, Seth?
I think I'm good, man. We just weren't, we got through it the best. Sometimes Marv just carries us, but we figured out we could do it live without Marv tonight. So we got some good baseball coming up this weekend. Yeah.
Yes, we do.
I figured that. So you have fun this weekend. You have fun this week. And I'll be prepared Monday, and we'll have a hell of a show. It'll be the best show we've ever had.
There we go. I like that. We'll switch spots. You come up from Florida, and I'll go down. How about that?
All right. That'll work, man.
All right, man. I really appreciate it, Seth. It's always a good time, man. Travel safe back up here to North Carolina, and we will see all you guys later.
Make sure you get a live basketball show next week, all right?
Maybe I'll do some on-location stuff with the cell phone.
There you
That's
go.
as good as I'm going to get.
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right. See you, man.
See you, man.
Sunbelt Syndicate.